What is going on, Rotogrinders? Dean here at Steven 7904. If you want to get all technical, I mean, it's actually 6:01 on the East Coast, 3:01 on the West Coast, 5:01 Tennessee time. Of course, Images time with the flagship show here at Rotogrinders. It's called Grinderslive. Joined today, Chief Justice. You know him from the content here at RG. You know him from the sports card show that we have going down on Tuesday nights, which is always good time. Sometimes I partake, sometimes I join. Chief, we were talking pre-show, and you said you love this slate, probably because people like me hate this slate. I'm not enthused about this slate, but it's just staring at the old Twitter machine, waiting for information to drop. We'll talk about body parts in a second, but you know, we all have the same pool of players to pick from. We all have the same games to pick from. It's only a 5-game slate. We're starting 7:30, a little bit later than normal, but as of right now, very, very little value. It is currently sparse.
Yeah, man, and like I was telling you earlier, pre-show, look, I'm excited about this slate because currently we don't have any value plays to bail us out. So we may have to play this slate straight up. We may have to, make some really strong decisions. So I'm really excited about this slate. Listen, man, there are plenty of guys to play, and we actually do have strong value, Dean. We just don't have the shiny new, I'm stepping into 45 minutes for 3K value, but we've got strong value on this slate. You're not going to like it, but I'm really excited about the value that I have access to, and people may not completely lean in with me on it. But listen, I've been talking about this for the past few, I think, shows I've been on, trying to kind of give you guys, a little strategy background rather than just the plays. But if you stick to your guns and you attack bad defenses, you're going to continue to print money in the NBA. And there's no better place to start, in my opinion, on this slate than attacking the Portland Trailblazers. And to me, that's where the value is on this slate. It's just you don't like it because it's not the shiny new not Golden State, OKC value where everybody gets to play, 38 minutes and crush for you. You got to earn it.
Everybody, Roby doesn't.
Well, Roby got ruled out, but you gotta you gotta earn it on this slate, Dean. And so I'm really excited. Not that you don't earn it any other time. That's not what I'm saying. But we don't have anything readily available, so you got to dig deep and take some tough stands. So, when we get to that game, trust me, I'm going to talk about some guys that you're going to say, oh, no. But I'm telling you, it's the Portland Trailblazers, and they're making everybody look like a stud. So I'm excited to get some Philly exposure tonight on this slate.
A couple of things. Spoiler alert, those guys' names are Seth Curry, potentially Danny Green, potentially Thibault, and potentially Furkan Korkmaz. Is that correct?
Well, listen, not
or Maxi. Maxi on DK is kind of somebody that you might need.
Well, since we're there, might as well go ahead and talk about it. Thought we were going to save this until after the SBK rant, but I'll go ahead and get on my rant right now. I will have exposure to Seth Curry and Danny Green tonight. There's no way I don't play these guys against Portland. And if you look at the ownership projections, especially on FanDuel, they're going to side with me, but those are the value plays. And in my opinion, they're good value plays. They're playing Portland. Portland can't stop a nosebleed. And so I'm really excited to play those guys. I honestly did not anticipate Seth Curry was going to be 46%. But, hey, shame on me, egg in my face. I should have known that because, the value is lacking. And so I really thought people weren't going to get excited about it. But it looks like they're more excited than I anticipated. But I'm not worried about it. I'm just going to kind of hop on the train with them, with some of these Philly 76ers. Against Portland. Last but not least, did want to talk about, I'm going to go ahead and get this out of the way now, my favorite play on the slate. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going right back to the well on Draymond Green. I've been talking about Draymond for the past few weeks, and if you look at the game log, you may think that it's a lot more up and down than it looks like, but they were playing San Antonio. He played 31 minutes, put up 30 fantasy points. They blew out San Antonio. The game before that, they kind of got blown out by San Antonio, I think, or maybe it was close, can't remember, but he put up 38 there, 54 against Dallas. And then in the first game against Dallas, I know for sure that they blew Dallas out. 28 fantasy points, 28 minutes, 39 fantasy points. Second game against Dallas, 37 minutes, 54 fantasy points. This game against the Spurs, 35 minutes, 38 fantasy points. And then the blowout game, 31 minutes, 30 fantasy points. Draymond Green is playing big minutes. If it's a close game, he's got tremendous upside, and people are still not excited to play Draymond Green. I'm looking at an ownership of 12.7% on FanDuel. Really excited. I'm going to be pushing the Draymond Green button yet again on this slate.
Yeah, playing more minutes, the price is up, but the blocks have shot up as well too. Like the first 14, 15 games of the year, he had like 2 blocks, something really goofy like that. Playing more 5 as well. Obviously, they're thinner up front as well without Looney, without Wiseman. So I think 10 live bodies there for Golden State that's going to be suiting up tonight. We'll talk as far as everybody else as far as injuries. Just I know it's daily fantasy sports. We care about tonight and tonight only, but it is worth mentioning. I kind of mentioned Roby in passing, and of course, he was a late scratch yesterday. Here's a good advertisement to get in our Discord because I'm not sure if you're in the Discord there last night, Chief. And Discord topping all time. And of course, that's part of your package here at RG. You can get $10 off the first month. You just want basketball, $10 off basketball, $10, all the sports. You have a price for that as well, too. Links to me dropped in chat. We'll talk to you guys in chat in a second. Hey, what up, chat? Feel free to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, hit all the buttons, ask some questions. Devin, our fabulous multitasking producer, he's compiling those questions. He'll jump on the show later and ask us those questions. He'll speak on your behalf. Tell us this. Is it for a tournament? Is it for cash game? Makes the question easier to answer. There you go. It's much more helpful. So people in Discord last night, 5, 10, 15 minutes up the lock last night, were talking about Roby, and it was some guy that an OKC, I don't know if he was a beat writer, he had like 3,000 followers, and somebody dropped it in there, and I looked at it as well too, and like they said, yeah, Roby's not in the court, and people were talking about it and also throughout the day, it's people talking, basketball, the different sports, different channels, and it's one thing that we don't really talk about enough. But if you have an RG subscription, get in the Discord. There you go. It's super, super helpful. And I got myself like 15 extra points. I got Markieff Morris. It didn't really help, but yeah. I didn't think I didn't think Roby was going to play. I wasn't sure, but
well, you didn't take a 0, Dean.
I didn't take a 0, but I still believe, I'm pretty sure it was a net. I think I lost money in TK last night, despite having 0% of like 40% of Roby. All we care about is tonight and tonight only. As for tonight, there is some potential value that may be lurking, but this is the old double header.
Oh my gosh.
What, did something just happen?
Well, I updated my personal projections here because of the OG, because of the OG news, not really Watanabe.
Oh, he's out. Okay.
Or Watanabe. Hold on. I like to get these names right. I don't want to mispronounce someone's name.
Yuta Watanabe.
Yeah, Watanabe. There we go. So yeah, that kind of changed my personal opto, and man, that's looking kind of tasty here. So I'm really excited about this. This is outstanding, man.
Yeah, well, that's the tricky part. Well, kind of sort of the tricky part, because it's the first game. There's 2 of the 5 games tip off at 7:30. Miami and Houston, Toronto, Boston on the other side. I do have my back-to-back and front-to-front as far as who is playing. Let's see. Front end of a back-to-back: Boston, Detroit, Portland, Orlando. Back end: Toronto, Indianapolis. Indiana scored 30 first half points yesterday. Norman Powell almost outscored the Indiana Pacers in the first half versus Brooklyn. So yeah, they made a game of it. Somehow that game, they only lost by 10, but it was so much uglier than that.
Guantanamera, go ahead, Super Poopy. That's what I'm talking about. That's awesome. God, I forgot all about that song. That's great. Thank you. I needed that today.
Super Poopy's singing for us. I assume that's a user in chat. That's not a name to forget. I've heard that before. It can't be anything else. A superhero than the X-Men that I'm not aware of or something like that. All right. So Orlando, this is the tricky part, right? Orlando's playing 2.5 hours after lock. They're playing a 10 o'clock game, double pronged, like we said, double header basically as far as a slate with Indiana and Detroit in the middle. And we may see value open up with Orlando, a nice matchup against Golden State if Cole Anthony doesn't play, if Evan Fournier doesn't play. MCW, I don't expect to play, but all those guys are questionable. He's also upgraded to questionable as well. We talked about Shake Milton being doubtful with an ankle, and like guys like Curry or Korkmaz or Maxey can get a slight bump. We do have a Time Lord. Robert Williams is out with the hip, which is not a big deal, but worth noting, I suppose. It's like, 10, 15 minutes a chunk there as far as Boston. Maybe you get a few extra minutes for Tristan Thompson. Maybe this game goes smaller, and maybe it opens up the chances for a guy like Boucher to play a few extra minutes on the other side. Watanabe is out, and Anunoby is out. Goran Dragic, the Dragon, is also out, and that's all we have right now as far as the body parts, as far as who's in, as far as who's out. And we're going to bring SBK on from the projections team in about 5 minutes or so, lineup HQ, and hopefully by then he'll talk to us about Toronto. And yeah, Toronto a little bit thinner. I thought Powell just wasn't playable under the assumption that Anunoby is going to play, but he's not going to play. Now Powell has been playing well, but he seems like he's fully priced. It's kind of sort of hard to get there, and their rotation in Toronto is very tight. It's hard to sort of predict the Baines versus Boucher stuff sometimes, but otherwise, and Lowry, but he's dealing with a back, or he dealt with a back, and he didn't finish a game a couple of days ago. And Coach Nurse did mention like he'll be monitored to some extent, but what does that mean sometimes in Toronto? Like instead of playing 38, you're playing 34, and his price is still pretty good. And Jaylen Brown is playing through like tendonitis, I believe, something with his knee. Worth noting, I assume Kemba's going to sit tomorrow. I don't know how much that matters, but it's a back-to-back front of a back-to-back for Boston. So I guess Kemba's going to play full throttle tonight, 33, somewhere around there as far as minutes. Of course, with Brown and Tatum back, he's the third option. But on FanDuel specifically, is that one of the places we're starting at Kemba Walker? I know he's disappointed some people, but in theory, he's too cheap, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think at 5,500 on FanDuel, the crazy thing about this slate, Dean, that I'm looking at is, how I feel about bad chalk, right?
Mm-hmm.
And typically when I get bad chalk, I'm just going to start taking the fade. I just don't think Kemba's bad chalk at 5,500. I just don't feel that way. I know he's been very disappointing. I think the interesting thing for me is when I looked at Kemba Walker, first of all, in the Phoenix game, he took 20 shots.
Yeah.
He hit 4 shots. He put up 18 fantasy points. Guess what? 18 fantasy points isn't going to get us anywhere. But I'm saying, man, if he hits another 6 shots, Dean, now he's around 24 fantasy points, and then maybe he gets a few free throws, or maybe half of those are 3-pointers. That's at 50%. He shot 2 for 12 against Utah. Guess what? Toronto's not good on defense, Dean. I'm telling you right now. They've been in shootouts. I'm not really worried about Toronto's defense at all. So I'm more than willing to play Kemba Walker in this spot. The thing that's encouraging for me as well is his minutes are anywhere from 30 to 32 minutes. That's plenty enough time for him to get the job done. So on this slate, I do think Kemba Walker is in play on FanDuel. Now, as we head on over to DraftKings, and we look at that price at 6,500, I'm very unenthused.
Yeah.
To play him at that price. I just don't think we need to go there. I think I'd almost rather play Kendrick Nunn, or something, or TJ McConnell even at 5,200 over Kemba Walker at that price. And I think I'm right on that. Obviously, I know we're waiting on some more news to see if we're going to be able to get access to a 4K Frank Mason or 4,200 Frank Mason on FanDuel. But I think I can win a tournament without Frank Mason. I don't think that's a spot where I want to kind of leave it open. I know that's kind of a typical strategy, but I say we go forth and build lineups tonight without some of this value news, because I'm looking at the value, and I'm not saying Frank Mason's bad. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying I feel like I can overcome a tournament without Frank Mason if I build a good quality lineup across the board. So that's kind of where I am in terms of my lineup builds tonight. I'm not really waiting on news now. And honestly, I know we're thinking about the Toronto news. If SBK comes in, just ping me and I'll just quit talking. I don't want to hog up the conversation. But if with the guys being out in Toronto, that actually makes me feel a lot more better. Makes me feel better about Bobby Boucher, because I feel like his minutes are going to be more stable with no OG. If OG comes back, well, now Powell's going to come off the bench. Maybe that takes away a few minutes, but this makes me a lot more excited about, and I know I call him Bobby Boucher. I know his name is Chris Boucher, but Bobby Boucher is a lot more fun. So I feel a lot better about Bobby Boucher coming off the bench and possibly having a stable 30 minutes versus possibly going back down to that 18-minute range.
We saw 7 or 8 minutes in the first half yesterday, and he was playing well. He was like 8 and 7 in 7 or 8 minutes or something like that. But once I think we do have a tool for us, obviously, the Court IQ, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but I believe he played basically once he was inserted yesterday, he did not come off the court. He just crushed. Basically once he came in around like the 5-minute mark or something like that, he played the rest of the game, and Baines did not come back. And that's sort of the tricky part, is trying to figure out if Baines is going to come back if he's not. And Watanabe being out doesn't seem like a big deal at all, but that is like 10 minutes to disperse. And hey, that's a good cue, because I think SBK is with us. I believe he is. And he can talk to us about this Toronto rotation and OG Anunoby being out. It makes it a little bit more condensed. And obviously we have Watanabe being ruled out too. SBK, what up? Talk to us about the Raptors. How excited should we be at the prospect of Boucher getting 26, 27, 28 minutes. Is that going to happen? Because we saw two different tales yesterday, the first half as opposed to the second half as far as its minute delegation.
What's up, boys? So, yeah, for Toronto, I mean, this is kind of a situation we've seen now with Anunoby out. I think he's missed he's probably coming up on double-digit games missed. So this isn't really a new situation. Norman Powell obviously going to be the big winner in terms of the bench options to come in and play more. We still have Boucher projected at 25 minutes right now. I think going above that's still a little bit scary, just given how volatile he is. I mean, I think if you're rostering him, the range of output for him. He could play 10 minutes, he could play 12, he could end up playing 30. So he's just an unbelievably volatile, high upside sort of guy. Wouldn't go anywhere near it in cash games, but in tournaments, obviously the upside's there. So we have at 25 minutes. I don't think that's going to change going forward. We do have Baines at 21, which may be a shade high. He was at 21 in the last game, maybe not, but prior to that had been under 20. So there's a chance Boucher gets up to 20, 26, 27, something like that, but projecting any more than that, I think is playing with fire. Really not much else interesting on the Toronto side. We know Watanabe, obviously, but no really interesting bench options for them on this slate.
We're fairly desperate for value as far as tonight. And the tricky part, again, is we might not get Orlando information until after the first few games. It looks like right now we're projecting, I think, everybody in MCW, Evan Fournier, and Cole Anthony. And that's why it looks like we're seeing 11 minutes or so projected for Mason. And obviously 11 minutes is worthless, but in theory, he can actually play 34 if everything cracks his way. So what's your plan? I mean, it's hard to project and take a stand right now. And obviously, and you got to pick one direction, but do you have a read on this? Anthony, I believe, did not have an MRI, which maybe boosts his chances of playing tonight. I don't know. What are your thoughts? And take me through the thought process of why you're projecting everybody in, and I guess you'll adjust on the fly when information comes in.
Well, the thought process is pretty straightforward. I mean, if you're questionable or better, we're generally going to project you in. So that's kind of the situation here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 guys projected right now. They will not run a 12-man rotation. So this stuff will change, obviously based on the news. You're right about Frank Mason. I mean, I think if Cole Anthony plays, there's no way I would be comfortable going in that direction. The only reason Mason, I think, was as good as he was the other night is because Anthony left early. So, I mean, even Michael Carter-Williams' presence could potentially make Mason not that great of a play if Anthony sits. So there's so many question marks there. Evan Fournier's status has a pretty big impact on all of those guys. I mean, he's pretty involved offensively. So if he sits and Anthony sits, that would make a guy like Frank Mason. I mean, if Michael Carter-Williams, Cole Anthony, and Evan Fournier sit, Frank Mason's a phenomenal play in every format. But that's kind of the best case scenario for him there.
Yeah, and they even added another body. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, go ahead. You're good. I was pretty much done with that thought.
I was just going to say, just to talk about all the bodies that Orlando had, they even have Alfred Camino in there just for fun. You're not going to play Alfred Camino, obviously, but he's just another person there that's eating up minutes. There's not really much else to talk about as far as injuries, as far as what we're monitoring. I mean, I don't know how excited you are at the 15 Robert Williams minutes where they're going to be delegated, or the Maxey minutes. He's not officially ruled out, but he's currently doubtful. I think they'll be dispersed amongst, the Milton minutes. Milton is out. They'll be dispersed to guys like Maxey, Korkmaz, Curry. And that's our quote. That's kind of sort of our value right now because there's nothing else. By default, it's our value. What are we monitoring? Is there anything to get excited about, or just this is kind of an ugly slate and just figure it out and deal with it accordingly? We all have the same puzzle pieces.
So it's kind of interesting. So I think a lot of people will gravitate toward the Philadelphia value. I heard you guys talking about it at the top of the show. If you do that, I mean, it leaves you a lot of pivoting options, obviously, with that Orlando side. So if you are pretty heavily invested in, I don't know, Danny Green, Seth Curry, maybe Korkmaz, somebody like that, you at least have that option to potentially pivot off of those players and on to more fruitful guys on the Orlando side, assuming that injury news breaks the way that you wanted to, I guess, if you're playing a guy like Frank Mason. So I think that's kind of interesting. I think that's probably how my builds would start, would be kind of gravitating toward the Philly value a little bit, and then kind of leaving spots open and giving you some wiggle room later depending on news. So I think that's kind of how I'd approach the value on this slate, is trying to wait as long as possible to be able to make those decisions. On the Philly side itself, I also heard you guys talking about this at the top. Seth Curry, obviously pretty appealing. You had noted the Shake Milton's doubtful. I don't think Tyrese Maxey is going to play a big role. We have him at 18 minutes right now. I would probably bet the under on that. Furkan Korkmaz, I think, among the bench options is probably the most appealing from a DFS perspective. You're obviously going to need him to shoot the ball pretty well and hope he falls ass backward into some ancillary stats. But I feel better about him than I would with Thibault or Maxey at this point. And I'd prefer Seth Curry to Danny Green as well.
Keith, you got anything for Keach?
Nah, man, I'm good. Keach is my boy. He's giving us the nuggets we need on a slate where nuggets are sparse.
We do appreciate your time. We'll let you go and wait for some information. Crush it this evening. Speaking of some nuggets for the people, give this nugget to the people. The Monkey Knife Fight promo, we talk about that all the time. 100% deposit bonus up to $50. Use the promo code Grinders. Chief, you got some winners for the people, right?
Yeah, I think so, man. Went on Monkey Knife Fight. One of the things that I like about Monkey Knife Fight is I do get to take a look at some of their over-unders for fantasy points. And, for a guy that plays on FanDuel mostly, it's always exciting for me to hop on there and kind of poke around and look at some things. And so we've got Domantas Sabonis tonight. They had at least the time that I got in there. And then here's another thing, too. You want to look at some of these things early because you can get some really fantastic lines earlier in the day, especially if there's not a lot of movement. So I've got Domantas at 41.5. Obviously, I'm going to take the over on that. I think that's an overreaction to these past couple games with them maybe not playing as well. But come on, 41.5, that feels a touch too low for me. And then we've got Jeremy Grant at 38.5. One of the things I've realized is, Jeremy Grant's been playing fantastic, but I think this is going to be a fairly competitive matchup. And so I'm expecting a lot of other guys to be involved. We'll see what happens with, DSJ possibly getting into the mix. So I'm going to take the under on 38.5. And look, now that I'm on that, and so that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with Monkey Knife Fight. But now that I'm on Detroit, I think the sneaky play, if you want to get froggy and jump, play DSJ tonight, right?
What do we have projected for it? How many minutes? I assume he just plays backup point and plays like 15 minutes.
Well, here's the thing. When we look at DeLon Wright, who's been fantastic, I've been playing DeLon Wright, on several occasions. But if we go back to DeLon Wright's minutes earlier in the year when they had Rose and they had all these guys available, DeLon Wright was more in the 24, 25-minute range, right? He wasn't playing 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So I'm not saying that he's not going to play 30 to 35 minutes tonight. What I'm saying is Dennis Smith Jr. is an exceptional tournament play because we have no clue how they're going to use him. Here's what I will say. Dennis Smith Jr. isn't out of shape. We got to think back and think about the news. He requested to go to the G League. Why?
Yeah.
He wanted to get reps in. He didn't want to be sitting away rotting on Tom Thibodeau's bench. He wanted to go and get reps. I think he's ready to play. And if he gets 20 minutes, he could absolutely be a slate breaker. I'm not trying to tell you or convince you to play Dennis Smith Jr. and tell you to load up on him in your lineups. What I'm saying is he is the de facto let's get froggy GPP play of the day because nobody knows. I don't have a clue. But if you're willing to take the risk, play Dennis Smith at 3,500. If he gets you 20 to 25 fantasy points on this slate, guess what? He's probably going to be optimal for you because there's not a whole lot of value, and we just don't know how they're going to use him. But here's what I'm thinking, Dean, and I want to think about this. Derrick Rose is gone. How many minutes was Derrick Rose playing when he was there on average? I think he was playing around 25 minutes, and then as the trade news got close, he was playing, low 20s. I think Dennis Smith is going to get 20 to 25 minutes tonight. I know we've got him at 15. I'm not trying to, overly disagree.
You think he plays alongside Wright?
I think he gets the Derrick Rose role. That's what I think. I think 20 to 25 minutes is in the cards. I
mean, I would say, yeah, he could play 0 minutes. Like, that's possible. It's possible he can play 0 minutes. Unless we get news, like, he's definitely going to play.
I don't think he's getting 0 minutes, Dean. Okay. They traded Derrick Rose away, obviously probably at the request of Tom trying to get one of his guys back. But I don't think they're gonna. I think he gets the Derrick Rose role. That's what I think. That's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I will say on DK's 3K still minimum. I think that's a little more useful than the 3.5 on FanDuel. But I do like it for tournaments. I do. I mean, this is a lottery pick. This is a guy who was, I guess, the main piece in a Kristaps Porzingis trade. Of course, that feels like it was forever ago, but that did happen. And he has done things when he's gotten opportunity before. There is some talent in that body. It's just really, really hard to predict. And the cap is a lot tighter as far as I can tell on DK than it is on FanDuel. So I think it's a little more useful.
On DK at 3K, man, I think DSJ is in play. And look, people, you guys know, I play what I say. I'm not just trying to get you off the path. You look at my lineups, I will have some DSJ in there, guaranteed.
Yeah. The chat's saying, let's see what Rod Beard has to say. A DFS-friendly beat writer, Rod Beard. Maybe he's talking about him. Every once in a while, he'll just throw out some DFS plays, say well, this guy is interesting. I think he uses DK pricing. I haven't seen him tweeting yet today, but and usually he'll respond, or sometimes he'll respond. Be polite to the beat writers. We shouldn't have to tell people that, but if you're asking for information, try to be polite about it. Hey, what about Boogie Cousins? Is he going to play the fourth quarter today? Is he priced appropriately? Are they just going to go small? Once again, he's not good anymore. Let's just face the facts. He's not good anymore. I love Cousins. Loved him. He was so much fun. He's not helping anybody win. He's in the wrong side of 30, and he's had an Achilles injury, and he's a big boy. That's a recipe for things not going well. He's terrible defensively. And we've seen some blowouts, and we've seen him just play Tucker at the 5 because he's not that good anymore. And they're not married to him. I assume this is a 1 year, one and done, and whatever. He is still interesting on FanDuel. Pretty strong. He's a good fantasy player. That's all we care about. But he's also got to be in the court. What are you doing with Cousins? I ran some optimals, FanDuel specific here, because the price is a little more appealing over there. And I ran some optimals, and it's kind of chopped as far as, let's see, I put out 150 or so. Center, you can only roster one, obviously. 34% Cousins, 33% Boots, 22% Cantor, 8% Embiid, and that's it, basically. Everybody else got 1%.
My gosh. Now, and I adjust my projections throughout the day. I've actually got 54% Embiid. I've got 34% Cousins. I've got no Vooch, actually. No Vooch. But that's just where I'm at right this minute. I think on FanDuel, here's the deal. I think you can continue to take shots. I think the blowout has cost him some of these games for sure. At 6,900 on DK, I'm not saying he's dust. I mean, look, the last time he got 30 minutes, he put up 35 fantasy points, Dean. And that was against San Antonio. He's playing Miami tonight. I'm not afraid of Miami right now. So I think at 6K on FanDuel, you definitely take a shot. For me on DK, look, if I got to choose between Boogie, you know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go down, to 6,800 and play Draymond at center. If that's kind of the approach I was trying to take. But I still think Boogie's in play on FanDuel. On DK, where he's 900 more, I don't think he's a necessity. But look, I wouldn't be shocked if Boogie went out and dropped a 50 burger tonight. And then everybody's like, God, why couldn't you do that when I played you? It's just how it works.
Do you like our defense versus archetype stuff? Because we have Mason Plumlee, who when he isn't handsy, when he stays out of foul trouble, he can play hey, they paid for him, man. They're paying for him by the minute. He played 38 minutes or so, something the other night, went absolutely nuts. If you believe
it was against Brooklyn, let's put it in context.
Sure, yeah. I mean, Turner didn't do it. Sabonis didn't do it, but yeah.
Hey, listen, outlier, and we know this. Come on. The Pacers scored 90-something points when everybody's scoring 130. Outlier game. Speaking of that, folks, please don't see Brooklyn on the schedule the next game and then decide I'm not playing anybody against Brooklyn because of Indiana. Outlier game. Trust me. Brooklyn's not playing great defense. Dean,
the announcers are like, Nash challenged them, and look, they really stepped up. Oh, it was such a bad game to watch. But the point I was getting at is that Plumlee, if you call him a post big, and I would call Plumlee a post big, best matchup in all basketball amongst all the post bigs, Indiana, which is a little surprising, actually.
Yeah.
But So, and again, the minutes have been there. He didn't pop up in those optimals, which I thought was kind of interesting. And of course, you can still play him. Cousins, Book, Cantor, Embiid. I mean, Alex can be getting more minutes of late, but it's hard to trust him. And, he's at his price right now. Tristan Thompson might grab a few extra minutes, but he's, there's certainly an opportunity cost. I don't see a big ceiling out of him, especially with Tice lurking. What about some Plumlee? Is he in the conversation?
And I think Plumlee on DK is perfectly fine, right? 6K, 6,100, I think he is. Am I right on that, Dean? 6,100? Yeah, I think it's 6,100. On FanDuel, Plumlee's a lot more expensive, right? I've got to choose between him. Plumlee is $7K.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about playing $7K Plumlee. Look, I know he's kind of destroyed Brooklyn, had a really good game against the Lakers in what I think was double overtime. But here's the reality. $7K for Plumlee, I think, is too much on FanDuel. I'm more than willing to pay $6,100 on DK. On FanDuel at $7K, Dean. I won't be touching that with a 10-foot pole. And guess what? If he drops 40, God bless you, man. No big deal. I'll live to see another day.
Well, that's the thing is we think of Plumlee as a guy, we don't think of him first impressions as a guy that can put up 40, but he certainly can. And again, we've seen his minutes really get extended sometimes when he stays out of foul trouble, but that he doesn't make the most sense. Vuk, they finally bumped his price up, so he's not like this lock and load anymore. Still a good play, obviously perfectly fine. You mentioned Embiid at 50%, that's way more than the field. Cantor, of course, against Philadelphia. I suppose we got to say that, hey, he might get into foul trouble against Embiid, but if he doesn't, I suppose he's kind of sort of somewhat interesting. But let's talk about the other big spends, point guard specific. Curry versus Lillard. Do you have a take?
I feel like it's Curry if I had to take them like straight up, only because I do feel like if there's one blowout game on the docket tonight, it's Philly against the Trailblazers. So I think I prefer Curry because I feel like possibly this game is going to stay a little bit more competitive. And the line, Philly's only -5.5, but Portland's defense is terrible, guys. They're just god-awful.
Yeah, 117 is the team total there for Philadelphia, and I believe that's the highest one on the slate if I'm doing a quick browse. Like Miami versus Houston in a 215 total, not terribly appealing. Houston's defense been much better since the absence of James Harden, not surprising. They are without Wood, and Cousins not a great defender, but, Tate's a solid defender, Tucker's a solid defender, Oladipo as well. With everybody playing for Houston, I think that also is a hit against Cousins. Like you've seen Cousins in games where Wall's not playing or Cousins in games where Oladipo's not playing. And I think collectively as an overall, all these guys are hit, right? As far as with Wall, Oladipo, and the matchup's not great. Like I don't love any of them. I might play here and little here, little there, but none of them look like awesome play. I don't need anybody in Houston. Cousins on FanDuel maybe, but I don't think I need it. But I think it's interesting. Thoughts?
Well, Dean, you know how I feel about your Oladipo.
Why can't I? Is it Oladipo? Is that what I always
Oladipo, Dean. It's Oladipo. However, when Oladipo is not a la carte, I just don't play him. Okay, when I can't play him by himself, I want Oladipo a la carte with no John Wall, with no Eric Gordon. When Eric Gordon is there. When John Wall is there, I'm just not playing Oladipo until the price comes down. So that's the caveat, right? Like on FanDuel, I think Oladipo is 8K if I'm not mistaken. Yes, he's 8K on FanDuel. You hop on over to DraftKings, and guess what he is over there? 7-8. I still think that's a little bit too expensive when everyone is available to them outside of Christian Wood currently. So, and look, can Oladipo go out and drop a 50 burger? Absolutely. But I'm saying in the grand scheme of a season, I'm not paying 8K for Oladipo with everyone available.
And all the wings like the Gordon and House and the Waba and Brown that we've been playing like kind of here and there to kind of make things work. I don't think I want any of those guys. Like we're not playing those guys, right?
No.
Yeah. Everybody's getting squeezed. Let's bring Devin on. Devin's been compiling some questions from the chats. Devin, is the show going all right? How are things going? Is my camera acting goofy or is it actually doing all right today?
It is actually, it's kind of freaking out a little bit. Your head keeps getting kind of like glitching out a little bit. I've been working through it. I think we figured it out. I think we're good to go now. But yes, I have been compiling questions. We've got quite a few of them today. All
right. Do like and subscribe if you guys are in chat. I see somebody talk about 10%. We got to get, what's the rule, Devin? Like 10% of the people watching are supposed to hit the like button? Is that what they say?
I believe that is an unwritten in stone rule, yeah.
Apparently we're not there, so somebody change that. Smash it, like it, caress it, whatever.
Got to get up to 10% for Dean.
Yeah, otherwise I get very, no more than 10% though. Once we're at 10%, I'm good.
Kind of hands off after that point. All right, well, let's get to some questions. Sean would like to know, this one's in honor of Dean, thoughts on Kyle Lowry's wagon.
His wagon? Is that a euphemism for something? What's a wagon?
I assume that was in reference to your circling the wagons quote, but...
Did I say nobody circles the wagons? Like Kyle Lowry? Is that what I don't think I said that.
I assumed that's what it was. It was from the beginning of the show, so it could have been buried.
Chief, did I say anything about wagons?
I am not sure.
I don't know what's going on. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. I don't know who the guy is in the NBA, but yeah, I got nothing for you.
All right. John wants to know, rolling with Lillard, Sabonis, Vooch, and Maxey as a core. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't like it.
You like it?
I don't like it. I don't like
okay.
that Maxey call. But other than those three, I like it a lot.
All right.
I mean, other than Maxey, I like
Maxey
those
is
three.
the weak link.
Yes.
King Moses wants to know, FanDuel tournament, Bam or Sabonis?
Sabonis.
Casey,
favorite shooting guard play, FanDuel tournament?
Let's go with
nobody's playing Van Vliet, right? Because he's 9'3". Like on FanDuel, they're not playing. You can play him on DK. That's a hard price to get to on FanDuel.
Let's go Jeremy Lamb at 5,600. He's a sneaky good play today. Good play.
We'll be getting to plenty of Fred Van Vliet questions here shortly. But
okay.
We love fitting in the strategy ones. JWC asks, 5-game slate, what's the max stack percentage, or I guess in regards to number of players from a 1-game stack for a large field tournament?
Which site?
It wasn't site specific. Just I guess
okay.
We'll say FanDuel.
I will say this. Let's go FanDuel. Typically on FanDuel, I try not to get more than 3, just because of how the salary breaks out. On DK, typically I think 4 is kind of the sweet spot because usually you're getting like a couple of 4K guys or a 3K guy with the 4K guy, maybe like a 6K guy and an 8K guy or something like that. So I would say maybe 4 on DK, 3 on FanDuel.
Donnie wants to know, are you trying to get ahead of the field on the DSJ news and DK tournaments?
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. Like I said, full disclosure, I have no idea how many minutes DSJ is going to play, but I'm trying to get ahead of it and say, hey, if he takes the Derrick Rose approach or role, that's 20 to 25 minutes. 3K at 20 to 25 minutes of DSJ could be huge on a slate where he's probably going to be under 2% owned.
I like him on DK. You talked me into it. I don't know if I'm going to get there on FanDuel, but DK, I'm going to play.
FanDuel, yeah, definitely. On DK, though, that 3K is valuable.
All right, we had a request to make Dean the Hulk, so don't make him angry.
What?
Let's see, Josiah, DK tournament. Are you considering Maxey and Korkmaz? What am I thinking? Yeah, Furk and Korkmaz, or fade those. Are you fading them?
DK, yeah, I don't feel like I want to play those guys.
Eagle says, are you considering fading Kemba to get Brogdon and Simmons? FanDuel tournament, what's your thoughts on Ben Simmons?
Listen, love Ben Simmons. Check my track record. He's playing Portland. Got no problems with that.
All right, King Moses.
Can I just say that I think on DK more so, like if you're betting on news to come, and news may come right now, or it might come in 2 hours. Who knows when it's going to come? But there's an 8 o'clock game and there's a 2-hour break. So we only have 2 games left. If you're banking on positive Orlando news, if you're backloading your rosters and it blows up in your face and Fournier is playing and Anthony's playing, which by the way, if Anthony plays, I like that DK price at 5.4. But then all of a sudden Mason becomes very, very thin if everybody plays. I think you can fall back on like Mason's 4.2, Curry's 4.1. Like if you don't already have Curry, I think you can fall to Curry and Curry should be fine. Korkmaz is 4.1, and see who starts there for Philadelphia. It's probably going to be Curry and Green. That we've seen different curveballs there, but maybe use those Philadelphia guys as plan Bs if you're playing Orlando as a plan A. That just doesn't work out.
All right, I was really crossing as many fingers as I could to see if you could make a "don't make me angry" joke somewhere in there, but swinging a miss.
Am I the Hulk? Am I green right now?
You are green. Yeah, you are green right now.
Oh, all right.
You got the Hulk.
My shorts are tightening too.
Your shorts are actually your hoodie is purple, which I think fits the Hulk motif. All right.
Listen, my good band of brothers here, Steve. Oh my God. Classic. I am a loyal citizen of Jamunda. Oh my gosh. Classic.
Yes.
Just someone I met in the restroom.
The favorite part of my game.
We got plenty of questions about Plum Dog. You guys touched on him a good bit, didn't you?
I like Plumlee on DK. Don't really like him on FanDuel. That's where I'm at.
All right. King Moses asking, FanDuel tournament, Simmons or Brogdon if you had to choose?
FanDuel tournaments,
Yes.
Definitely going with Simmons today. He's playing Portland.
Hey, Will, so Brogdon has fallen off, right, since the start of the year. He just was overachieving. Is that what's going on here? Or is he just not that good, or is he somewhere in the middle? He's been bad of late, but he was really good to start the season. Is it somewhere in the middle, I assume?
I think he's somewhere in the middle. Here's the thing about Brogdon that people got to realize. He literally did the same thing last year. How do you remember this, D? Beginning of the season, Brogdon comes out hot. 50, 40, 45, 48, 50. And then as the season goes on, he goes back down to more of a 30 to 35 point fantasy score. I just think, maybe the team gets in a rhythm, gets in a groove, roles change. I think that's kind of what happens here. But the same thing happened last year, but I still like the price at 7,200 on FanDuel. I think he's 74 on DK. I think somewhere around there.
Sorry, somebody in chat said the Jolly Green Dean, and that really got me. That's hilarious. Hawk Dark wants you to rank Fred VanVleet, Siakam, and Boucher for tournaments.
Oof. Boucher, VanVleet, Siakam.
All right, friend of the show, Eric wants to know, I like Fred VanVleet over Lowry. Am I nuts?
On FanDuel, maybe.
Potentially crazy on FanDuel. Matthew says FanDuel tournament, Powell, Wiggins, or Trent?
How?
Gosh, man. Powell is Wiggins. Trent's probably going to play the most minutes, but they've got the blowout potential. Honestly, I think I'd probably go Powell in a competitive matchup with Boston. That's where I go.
Nice.
That's where I go.
K-Mac asks, are you leaning more toward Hero or none FanDuel tournament?
Hero.
German.
But to give you an alternate, I'd really consider Jeremy Lamb today.
What about Jimmy? We haven't talked about Jimmy Butler. It's been great since coming back.
Well, Jimmy's that small forward, Dean. He's like 80-something hundred, where none, I think, is like 5K. I think Hero's 58, and I know Jeremy Lamb is 56.
I was just thinking we haven't talked about him. Like, my bad for not bringing him up. I just think he's worth. Yeah, I know he was just a teammate of Miami. That's why I just sort of popped in my head. But.
Yeah, and good you mentioned it, because I do think Jimmy Butler is optimal on FanDuel tonight. I think he's optimal at 8,700.
I agree.
Someone named German Lust would like to know, what's your favorite power forward on FanDuel under 4.1K for cash?
Seeing that Dirk Nowitzki's not playing tonight. 4.1K at power forward?
Correct.
Ooh, do we have anything here?
And while you're looking, Dean, Will Bacon tonight, FanDuel tournament. Are you playing any of him?
No. I think Bacon is only in play if maybe Fournier was out. But I won't be playing any Bacon tonight.
I got nothing for you.
Nothing?
I mean, PJ. You want to hear me say PJ Tucker? I'm not going to say PJ Tucker.
I would like to hear you say
I said it, but I'm not going to say it.
Okay, well, we got it on record, so it's,
the
deed is done. Ryan asks, Brogdon, Wall, or Lowry, single entry on DraftKings?
Brogdon, Wall, Lowry. I think I'd go Lowry.
Steve, yep, that's me from Discord, asking, stacking Detroit, Indiana tonight for GPPs?
Oh, my. I don't hate it.
How would you do it? Like, who would you get on Detroit?
On DK or on FanDuel? I mean, if I'm on DK, I'm automatically probably going to play Jeremy Lamb at 5,400. You guys know I've been talking about him all night. No way I don't get him in. I'd probably have – watch this. This is a sneaky one. I would possibly forego Brogdon and play TJ McConnell at 5,200. And I'm not saying to do it because I want Sabonis in this spot, right? And then I also want Plumlee at 6,100. And then I probably want, for me, hear me out, I'm going to play Dennis Smith Jr. at 3K. And so now what I've done is I've got McConnell, Lamb, Sabonis, Plumlee, DSJ, and then I can go back and then I can get some of these other guys that I want to play from these other games because, I really, really, really like Draymond Green, obviously. So, I'm going to play Draymond. That's Draymond 6,800. I'll get him plugged in. And then I've got about 7,300 left. I've got 2 spots left, which is a shooting guard spot and a util. And I can still now I got, a bevy of guys available. I can play Embiid. I can play Curry. I can play Dame. But that's kind of how I would approach it. I really think I would forego Brogdon tonight at 75 and get a little bit of TJ McConnell. That makes me really, really, really different in tournaments. And if you look at TJ McConnell's game log, he's been playing pretty big minutes, 25 minutes or so. In this spot, I think that's great for him. That's how I would approach it to get a little bit different because I do think Brogdon could carry some ownership.
Evan lightning round or not like lightning round?
Not necessarily. No, we're coming up to the end of them, and we still got another 2.5 here. So, JWC in chat asks, DK is twice as nice tonight. I had to really focus on that one with no Williams and trash.
Was that cash or tournaments?
It was not mentioned. We'll say tournaments.
I mean, 4,900. I mean, I don't hate that. I think Tristan Thompson's in play too for what it's worth. I mean,
I think he can get you a cheap double.
Yeah, I think they're pretty equal in my book.
VG asking about Siakam, claiming nobody's talking about them. I have been mentioning his name, so I'm pretty sure people are talking about him. But what do you guys like him for tournaments?
Yeah, tournaments, I think he's okay. 8K on DK.
He's 9.6 on FanDuel, Will. That's the problem.
And that's what I was going to say. This is basically the opposite of Plumlee. On FanDuel, he's a no-go. I mean, the same as Plumlee, excuse me.
Sure.
FanDuel, just you can't play 96. Like, if I'm going to pay 9,600 for Siakam, I'm just going to play Jason Tatum. Like, there's no way I'm playing Siakam over a Tatum.
Don't forget to hit that like button if we get to your questions. Coming up to the end of the show to about 2.5 minutes. Derek asks, DK tournament, can I play Grant and Plumlee together?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. Luke asks, Tobias Harris or Jeremy Grant?
I take Jeremy Grant.
Warren asks, shooting guard for tournaments, 4,100 left. Maxey, Cork, or Curry? I think we were in
FanDuel?
this. Yeah, we'll say FanDuel. I think we were in this spot earlier.
Yeah, I think I'm just going to go Curry, man.
Curry's the best play there,
yeah,
I think.
Absolutely.
All right. Matthew asks, any love for Tobias FanDuel tournament?
Don't hate it, but don't love it.
Will asks, best shooting guard plays other than Curry FanDuel cash.
I mean, well, I do think not Norman Powell, good God. Jeremy, I keep talking about Jeremy Lamb, but at this price point on FanDuel tonight, I feel like this is where the money's going to be made, right? Because shooting guard overall is kind of weak. So you got Hero, you got Jeremy Lamb, you got a Josh Jackson, you got a Terrence Ross, you got Eric Gordon. Out of that group, I feel more comfortable with Hero, Lamb, and Jackson, and I like Lamb out of that group. So that's kind of where I am.
Just worth mentioning, I think Ross is a guy that can get elevated as well if all those guys are out for Orlando. We haven't really talked about him.
All right. Eric asks, anyone on Brown for Boston DK tournaments?
Not really, and it's not like I don't like him. I mean, he's 7,700. That's incredibly fair.
Mm-hmm.
I probably need to consider him more because he's probably going to take 20 shots. Should be a competitive game. On DK, I like him. On DK, for sure, I like him.
It's a pretty fair price on DK, especially when you consider a slate where there's not a lot of stuff that's popping and that we love so much. And you do have to spend the money somewhere, in theory.
Yeah.
And that's just about enough time for us today, Dean, if you want to go ahead and take everybody home.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for asking questions. I do appreciate that. It makes the show a lot more fun, obviously, much more interactive. It's fun. Hopefully it's more enjoyable for you guys. If it is more enjoyable for you guys, hey, how about this? Hit the like button, subscribe, hit all the buttons, turn on the notifications. We do appreciate that. If you guys are RG Premium members, you get to watch the show that's following us, which of course is Crunch Time. Andy Means, Kevin Roth. Sober, not sober? Do we have word just yet, D-Train? Do we know? I don't know. What do the people prefer? I think they prefer not sober. Not sure if they're split on that. Maybe he was thirsty. Who really knows? I think the in-laws were in town, and that's always if you have the inside information, smash the over on like 2.5 tequilas or whatever. Devin, I apologize. We got to get out of here. You got to set up a show. We do appreciate you guys watching. Premium members, stay tuned. If any news goes down, they'll tell you how to adjust as far as your lineups. That was Chief. That was Devin. This was basketball. I was Dean. Good luck tonight. We're out of here. Holler!